Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unmasked. Another day, another incredible guest. Before I introduce him, we're going to take a moment to pause, breathe. Wherever you are, if you feel safe to do so, close your eyes, lower your gaze, and take a minute of silence. Focus in on your breath. Notice how you're showing up today. Withhold any judgment. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back and join us. Tony, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. How are you doing?
Thank you, Rachel. I'm doing well, and I'm very glad to be here.
First ever podcast episode?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Okay, amazing. Really happy to have you here. Thank you for taking the time and energy to just have a fun conversation with me. I met Tony over the summer of 2025 in New York, and since then, what can I say? We've been doing yoga together, park walks, lots of fun New York City dinners with all of our friends. Now we're at Teachers College recording a podcast episode. I'm excited for everyone to hear about all the wisdom and knowledge that Tony has. He has so much to offer, and as usual, let's start by talking about 3 words you would use to describe yourself.
Sure. What an intro. Thank you. And I would describe myself as creative, stubborn, and spontaneous.
Love it. Those seem to check out. Will you tell us how those show up in your life more specifically?
Sure. Yeah. So the first one that comes to mind, spontaneous, is just I tend to do what I feel like when I feel like it. I don't need to have a set plan or go about a day a certain way. If something seems like fun, I love to take an adventure. I'm also pretty stubborn in the sense that I stick to my guns, sometimes to a fault. Can't be perfect. And then finally, I think I'm pretty creative. I like to go about solving problems in interesting ways that are unique, and it makes it a lot more fun for me.
That's great. I feel like over the summer, I remember you always had a new project of some kind, whether it be creating a fountain, painting a table that came off the street. Any other favorite projects that were really spontaneous so far in your life?
Plenty. I've just started working again on a waterfall in my apartment.
Okay,
So
tell
the
us
fountain
more.
was initially supposed to be a waterfall, but it turns out building a 7-foot waterfall in a Manhattan apartment is pretty challenging. So I had to start a little smaller with a fountain. And I think a bunch of my friends have seen it at this point. It works pretty well. It's been consistently running for a few months now. I feel like I've gotten a lot of like the tubing, electrical, and water flow issues sort of down. And I feel ready to take on the waterfall now.
So 3 words. Say them one more time just so that we can all let them soak in.
Okay, we're going to go creative, stubborn, and spontaneous.
Would you have used those 3 words when you were younger, if I were to have asked you the same question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Both my parents are artists. My mom is a painter and makes mosaics, which are religious icons that are made of glass. And my dad's a jazz piano player. So I definitely grew up very inclined with the arts. Always had a couple canvases around. My mom really instilled like an attitude of drawing and creating in me, and I've always loved that stuff. I've always been stubborn. My dad will tell you that for sure.
Who do you get that from? Which parent?
My dad.
Okay.
Yeah, the apple didn't fall too far there. So I definitely grew up very stubborn.
Can you tell us where you grew up, what brought you to New York City?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City. Till I was about 14, I lived around Murray Hill in the Lower East Side. And then around then, I went to New Jersey for high school, D.C. for college, Florida right after D.C., and then I've been back in New York for the last few years. I just have a lot of family and friends in New York, and I love it here.
What's your favorite thing about New York?
The food.
I knew it. I knew that was coming. Tony is the person in the city that whenever I need a food rack, it's an easy text because I know who's got it.
Thank you, Rachel. That means a lot.
Your local foodie. That is probably one of my favorite things about New York. I have had a conversation with another guest on the first ever podcast episode, Erica, who you know very well. And we were talking about this culture in New York of needing to be something, and there's a really strong energy here. How have you found that in growing up here and life today?
It's definitely very present in New York. There are just so many people. I think that New York has the reputation of just, a lot of people who don't have time for anything, really. They won't say hello on the street just because there are literally so many of us, and you can't take a moment to meet everyone because it's just overwhelming. I think a lot of people tend to get the feeling that they're surrounded but a little bit alone just because they don't feel super seen. To be seen in New York, sometimes some people feel that they have to ascend a little bit and become something worth seeing, which I don't agree with. If you only feel seen when you're accomplishing something, what are you when you're not accomplishing?
Have you experienced that thus far at any point in your life?
Definitely, on both ends, right? I know that you and I and a lot of people in our program have all talked a lot about identity, and that seems like a key cornerstone of this podcast.
Yes.
And it's definitely something that I struggled with for quite a while and still do. Expectations lead to trying to reach a certain identity of what people expect or what you expect of yourself. And if you internalize those expectations, which I did for a very long time and still do to a lesser extent, you feel like you're tied to it.
Is there a certain label that comes to mind that you're thinking of currently?
Right now, the one that comes to mind is sort of a business professional, a corporate world guy. Very easy to build a caricature of that. Someone who left the corporate world or kind of one foot out the door and entering into a more spiritually grounded program.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. You work in this corporate setting, and we are in this spirituality, mind-body psychology program together. Those two things really seem to butt heads in ways. How have you found the balance of both of those things in your life?
It's definitely challenging being one foot in two worlds at the same time. I think that one world tends to be much more accepting of the other than vice versa. It's much easier to talk to people who are a little more spiritually grounded about the corporate and business world experience, whereas the people in downtown Tribeca don't seem to really have as much of a handle on what it means to feel spiritually engaged. Some people do, but most people give you just sort of a sideways glance.
And what made you want to do a program such as this while working in a corporate setting?
I don't really want to be doing the both things at once, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's more of just an issue of something has to pay for tuition. So we're sticking that out for a while. But my life has really taken a couple big turns. Some years ago, you know this, but I got pretty sick and things did not look super great for me. I ended up doing a lot of work on disordered breathing in myself. And in the process, I had some very spiritual experiences that I couldn't really push away and I had to acknowledge. And in the process, I realized, like, hey, the world is a lot bigger than this finance job.
Will you tell us a little bit more about how breathing has been a cornerstone in your life?
Yeah, sure. I had a really severe case of sleep apnea. It was the cause of a lot of other issues. And when you have sleep apnea, you're not breathing properly. You're breathing in, out, and you're pausing, you're stopping, you're snoring, you're choking, whatever. And what most people don't realize is it actually carries into the day as well. But you stop short of actually choking during the day because you're conscious enough to stop it. And it all came about because of an annoying surgery that didn't go super well. But to fix that, a lot of doctors, they tried a lot of structural solutions, more surgeries, lots of medications. But it turns out what I really needed was to retrain my body to breathe properly. The analogy I like to give is They were treating my treatment like a plane taking off on a runway, and they did everything they could to make the runway wider, my airways as big as possible, but they forgot to actually train the pilot to fly, to breathe. Once I actually relearned how to breathe, basically, my life got a lot better, and I was able to do a lot more, be more productive, even than when before I got sick.
If I had no idea what it meant to breathe properly, how could you explain what healthy breathing looks like in simple terms?
You shouldn't be able to see it or hear it, for one thing. If you can hear yourself or hear someone around you breathing, you know that they're exerting a little too much effort. So breathing should be very soft. It shouldn't take any conscious effort unless you're actively practicing. And it should be led by the diaphragm.
Are you breathing in and out of your nose constantly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
time.
no mouth breathing.
Unless I'm like sprinting or something, yeah. You find that even elite athletes, when they're running long distances, if they're really engaged in it, doing like an ultra marathon or a marathon or something, if they're at the top level of performance, they're breathing through their nose.
Is there any practices that you currently do related to breathing that help you sustain consistent sleep patterns?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I could fill the next 3 hours talking about
Okay,
this, so
well,
let's keep it.
Maybe just a couple. You tell me.
Somewhat short here, but yeah, I actually coach people on this. I see, like clients from time to time. I don't charge that much or anything. It's just more of a labor of the soul and passion. And what you find is that people just need to regain an even breathing rhythm. If instead of starting and stopping and starting and stopping when they inhale and exhale, if that pattern is replaced by a very smooth inhale, exhale, that's very rhythmic and consistent, your body learns what to expect next. It knows when the next breath is coming in and out, and it doesn't choke anymore. So little by little, that paced breathing will do a lot of good things for your body.
Does that look like counting in your head? Like 3 in, 3 out? Are you holding at any point?
It can, but that becomes a very conscious process. So what we want to do is we want to make that process more automatic and more unconscious, because breathing is one of the only things in your body that's controlled both actively and subconsciously. So if the doctor tells you to take a deep breath, you're actively controlling it. But if you're asleep, you're subconsciously controlling it. Or really, like if you're doing anything besides actively thinking about your breathing, it's being subconsciously controlled. You can't train that subconscious part of your brain by actively telling yourself to focus. So what we want to do is to take that process and make it background, make it automatic.
Which leads me to your belt, if I must.
Sure.
You have a breathing belt that you have created and basically engineered.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Again, this was something that I really needed for myself. So I didn't see it anywhere. It didn't exist anywhere. I found the process of making breathing subconscious extremely difficult, especially for someone who's just born and raised in New York City, neurotic, who works in finance. Making this a background process was harder for me than probably for most people, but people have worse experiences than I did. In any case, what this belt does is by using body-based feedback, your body learns this new pattern. Your brain learns to just take on these body-based cues and take on this healthier breathing pattern without any conscious thought. So you wear it enough, you tend to get good results. I've given the belt to a bunch of people, and results have been pretty encouraging. I tend to find that people reach a plateau where they start getting excited about the belt after a week or two of using it, because for a week or two they haven't gotten used to the new rhythm. But after a week or two, they tend to just not want to give it back.
Wow, that's exciting.
I hope so.
Still waiting to try it.
Yeah.
When's my turn? No, it's been fun seeing the evolution of it since hearing about some of the initial ways that you were wanting to create it and seeing you carry around your big box with just like a bunch of pieces and trying to figure out how the breathing belt would come together.
Yeah.
And now it's actually a belt and functional, and one of our friends was using it for sleep as well. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun for me. I was not an electrical engineer by trade, didn't know anything about coding, so figuring this out was super fun, and honestly one of the things in my life that I'm most proud of. And it took a little stubbornness to push that across the finish line. It was sort of a don't give up kind of thing because there are a lot of roadblocks in basically everything you try to do. And this was a great example of that.
Okay, well, I have another fun tool that I know you use that I would love to talk about because I've actually heard it only one other time. And these are toe spacers. What is a toe spacer and why do you use it?
Okay, there's the stuff in your body called fascia. And I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
Maybe other people don't. But it's this web of sort of muscle adjacent fibers that span your entire body. And when you're not actively stretching or moving or you're dehydrated, they tend to get a little stiffer and a little more brittle. So what the toe spacers do is they take this web and they kind of pull it apart in sort of a constant stretch. And I don't think they're super effective, but they're just like little things that do a little bit of good for you. I think that over time, people will find out other ways to passively put this fascia in a nice constant stretch.
I know a lot of people with bunions, which form on your foot. At least I think it's just on your foot, maybe other places. I'm not really sure. But that seems to be a good tool because we wear so many shoes that are pointy and our feet are just really confined. And over time, that must contribute. I'm just kind of speculating here. I know not a lot about feet, but...
No, you're totally right.
Okay.
I mean, like, it's not just your feet, right? So you have a bunion, but that tends to not be the first thing that gets affected, right? Because fascia goes through your whole body. The fascial line that reaches your feet is connected to things that reach up to your pelvis and your diaphragm and all these different things. So if you start to develop a bunion, chances are you've got a little bit of compression other places in your body too. And by stretching out your toes a little bit, you can hopefully loosen that. For me, anyway, I kind of knew that I had a lot of compression around my diaphragm. I did a lot of stretches to work that out. But the toes were just a minor little thing that helped a little too.
Do your research. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, not medical advice, right?
No, definitely not here. Talking about labels, identity, worthiness. I think maybe even over the summer, I told you, I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. And
I do remember that.
We're in February because I woke up one morning and just had this really creative moment of thinking so many people that we can learn from that we don't even realize. Most of the time, it's someone famous or on center stage who has a platform. And what about everyone else on the street? So that's how we got here. And
that's a really good point. You know, famous people have plenty to teach us, sure. But I would say that the people who are not famous probably have just as much.
Can you think of someone in your life that has been an unexpected teacher or mentor?
Unexpected. I had a physical therapist a few years ago who really played a pretty big role in me figuring out where I was going and what I was doing, helping me find a little bit of purpose. And I don't think I ever would have expected that when I first stepped in and was just trying to get a little bit of help with my breathing.
What does a purposeful life look like to you?
You wake up and you get a little bit excited about some of the things you have going on. Some of the things will always kind of suck, but at least some of it should excite you.
What do you think gets you out of bed in the morning? What are these things that excite you the most?
I'm having a lot of fun with my friends, the things I'm learning, more and more of my engagement with spirituality and breath work. I really do love bringing that to people. I love helping people with that.
Outside of this program, do you find it challenging to bring up or talk to people about spirituality?
It depends where I am. In a lot of my friendships and with family, I have a very easy time doing it. It's in the name of the program, so it just comes up when I say where I am these days. And it turns out that a lot of the people I know are a little more open to spirituality than I thought. It tends to be something that we don't speak about super openly, but in my experience, most people have at least, one or two spiritual bones in them that they're willing to explore and engage with a little. Now, when I'm downtown, like at work, in the corporate world, it tends to be a little bit more off limits. I've found one or two people there who are willing to engage a little bit or find it at least somewhat interesting. But yeah, for the most part, have a pretty easy time with it. Do you?
Similarly, when people ask, what are you doing? What are you studying? It's a easy way to uncap the spirituality can. I think there can be a stigma around it. The whole difference between religion and spirituality, which I wouldn't say I identify with a specific religion. I grew up Christian, but spirituality to me has not been going to church every week. It's been more of the connection that I have with people, with nature, growing up in Montana and just climbing a mountain. I'm like, come on, bring on spiritual encounters in nature. Depends on the person as well. It's been really comforting being at Teachers College and being able to speak to anyone and everyone about it. And everyone who's not in our program but still goes to this school is like, that's so cool. Spirituality, mind, body. And I think it's on the uphill. I think people are more than ever now focusing on wellness and spirit, mind, body connection, whether or not someone identifies as really spiritual.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you end up with this obsession with achievement in Western society, really. Mm-hmm. There's this undercurrent, this polar opposite of spirituality that feels a little bit neglected and starts to kind of bubble up and need to come out somehow.
I was reading a paper for one of my classes today. Embodiment, Well-Being, and Sustainability. Great class. I would recommend it. And it was a paper on the loneliness epidemic right now, how we're just spending so much more time in solitude, less connection with people, places, the outside world in general. I think that contributes a lot to less moments of engaging with spirituality or something greater than yourself because you're confined to your home or a room or a TV or social media. How have you found when times you felt maybe lonely or isolated? How does it feel and what do you usually do?
I honestly haven't felt lonely for a little while.
Let's go. That is rare. That is so rare.
For a little while, I felt really lonely when I lived in Florida. I had a very difficult time making friends out there for whatever reason. I made a couple, but for the most part, I felt really distant from the friends and family that I grew up around, that I had made over the course of my life. And it seemed like everyone had gravitated to New York. So I just moved. I went to where my friends were.
Followed your community.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a great solution.
Yeah.
Though you mentioned at the beginning when we were talking about New York, people somehow manage to be lonely in a city where everyone's right next to them just because there's not the attention towards being in a relationship. There's more attention of ascending this ladder.
Yeah. The other day I was on the subway. And you guys ever see those like subway performers? They're on the train doing flips and breakdancing and stuff. And most people are locked in on their phones. They're like actively trying to ignore them. It was so interesting for me to see after a little bit of engagement. I went home and I thought about it for a minute. I was like, are we really that offended that someone would try and take our attention away from like 5 seconds? Is whatever we're doing so important that we can't break away and engage with a little bit of another person's joy?
Yeah, it's sad. The one thing that I do on the subway that I enjoy and would recommend to anyone is don't wear headphones. Just one time. Try it. Don't wear headphones and don't be looking at your phone and simply just sit and create an awareness around the things that are happening around you, whether it's someone climbing all over the place or 2 kids interacting. And it's so fun and actually brings so much joy to me because I will hear things that will spark a curiosity or a smile. It just adds a lot of joy. And even though I might not be actively speaking to someone, I still feel connected.
Do you say hi to people on the subway?
I don't. I wish I did.
I totally feel like you do.
This is what I was talking about with Carmen actually on my last podcast episode. And it was the fact that when you ride in an elevator next to someone, most of the time nowadays, you don't engage. And yet people wish that more people would say hi in those settings.
Yeah. And it's not even just there, right? Even at work in an office where everyone is working on similar stuff. A lot of the times you end up sitting next to someone new on a given day. And no words are exchanged whatsoever. It's kind of weird.
It's very strange when we think about it, going to stores and checking out with a self-checkout.
Yeah.
And then also the amount of takeout. There's been a huge uptick in the amount of takeout, obviously, because people just want to like eat in the comfort of their own home. But you just miss out on saying hi to the waiter. That was probably one of my favorite parts of solo travel. Have you done any solo travel?
A little, but I also just want to say it's kind of depressing that we spend so much time on Uber Eats and like on our phones and stuff. We just really don't want to go outside that badly. We like our homes that much. There's a big world out there.
I know. I know. Let's go grab a hold of it. It is shocking. We'll be the change.
Where did you solo travel?
I went through Greece for 8 days and then Norway for a similar amount of time in the middle of winter when it was 5 or 6 hours of daylight, which was an interesting experience. I wanted the two to be very different. I would recommend to anyone solo travel all the way. It was so fun to just get to do what I wanted, get to eat the things I wanted, even if it was 2 days in a row. You have to put yourself out there, though.
How did you like meet people?
I booked tours and social things, and I would see other solo travelers. There was one girl, I was on a boat tour. She was by herself, looked like she might have been backpacking or something. And I was like, I am making it my goal by the end of this tour to be her friend. I asked her to take a photo of me. And then, what do you know? We had each other's Instagrams. We chatted for a whole hike. That actually has happened twice now. Someone else asked me to take their photo in Norway. And then we ended up having dinner together the next day.
Oh, cute.
So ask people to take your photo at the very least. And definitely some solo travel time I would recommend.
Yeah.
Do you spend a lot of time alone?
Maybe like one day every week and a half or 2 weeks. I spend basically by myself, just catching up on work and stuff. I feel like it's kind of necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I need the time alone, but just because I actually just need to be a little more productive on a given day. Other than that, my life has gotten pretty busy lately. School, work, social life.
You do have a lot on your plate. I don't know how you managed to get so much done, but hey.
I mean, I think we all kind of do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy being a full-time student, running a podcast, teaching yoga to me every like week or two. Everyone does a lot of stuff, and a lot of people do things that we don't even know about. So.
It's true. Well, alone time, although we get a lot of it these days, is also really important. That's the one way that I find actually connecting the most with my own form of spirituality is when I'm in some sort of quiet internal state, whether that's outside or inside or really high up overlooking a city.
Oh, yeah. I should just point out that I don't really think of it as alone time when I sit around and meditate or do breath work. I really should. That is definitely alone time. I do that daily. So
I think it's cool that you don't consider that alone time. Why is that?
I don't know. I guess I always just had this idea of alone time in my head as just hanging out on my couch watching Netflix or something like that. Somehow this feels more productive than just sitting alone and vegging out.
Well, sadly, I know we're getting close to the end of time. We could sit here for a while and open a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, we usually do.
Always. I want to give you the chance to share how people could connect with you or find you for breathing advice.
I'll put my email out there. It's tlutri@gmail.com, which is TLUTRI@gmail.com.
Okay.
If you have problems with your breathing or you snore or sleep apnea or something like that and you're somewhat motivated to do something about it, feel free to reach out. I love helping people with this stuff. If we do more than just 1 or 2 sessions, I'll probably ask you for money. But before then, I'm happy to just give some advice or something like that because I did not like dealing with that stuff in my own life, and I would like to help as many people as I can with that.
Good deal. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for being here. I'm very grateful that you showed up and had some fun convo today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Rachel.
See you all next time.